So my parents recently have been thinking about building a new house up on my grandma's farm because they have lots of land that they can sell and use for that because they want to move out of my old childhood home. So ironically, my mom sends me a blueprint that she made and actually asks me every once in a while to build these blueprints in The Sims so she can see what they look like. Sorry about the weird lighting thing, my fan is on because, let's face it, I like a nice cool room. But regardless, my mom always sends me these blueprints. So I decided to make these blueprints for her. Well, this time I decided to record it. I even asked her if I could, and she said yes, but ironically, it's really interesting. I have to look at my laptop for this. So ironically, this house is actually based off when I went on our trip to the UP, which for those of you who are not from Michigan, that is just simply referring to the Upper Peninsula. So the first part was my mom gave me this photo of the floor plan, and what was the hard part about it was pretty much figuring out how to transfer that in The Sims, because usually floor plans in real life are really hard to transfer in The Sims because sometimes rooms are super large because furniture is a certain size. So I immediately started off by making what would probably be a realistic size for the house. So I just worked around it, putting the deck in and the hallway my mom had along with the large living room. But as I started messing with it, I realized it was like way too big. Like it just didn't work because it seemed like more I made it for, well, a house of realistic size rather than a sim size. So I had to size everything down to make it fit to the way I thought would work. And also it would definitely help because the problem is a roof, when it comes to building homes in The Sims, roofs get to a point where I can't like them because they get too big. Now my parents, they love closets, so my mom put in the blueprint that there will be a hall closet and 2 closets per bedroom. Now, you're probably wondering why there's 2 full bathrooms in this house. Well, that is because my mom prefers to have 2 separate personal bathrooms for both my mom and dad. Now, when my brother and me come to visit, I have no idea what it's going to be used. They're not that far. They're just outside in Clare, which is not too far from Mount Pleasant. And, well, at least that's what they're going to be. And what's interesting is that I don't know why we'd stay tonight, but maybe if we ever have any situations, we can always do that. Or if we want to spend the night there, like for my brother's hunting or fishing, that's fine, even though we're not too far away. What was interesting is I remember hearing my mom discuss paneling, like she wanted paneling. Now, paneling, for those, I've thought of it more like the vertical paneling, and then there's horizontal. But I eventually came across the cats and dogs sign, which I preferred a lot, and used some rock on the front. Well, what is it called? An A-frame? Front A-frame? Yeah, I used some rock on that to really pull it together. And I wanted to get some nice, basic, like foundation, but also get that nice lattice foundation that I remember from a lot of homes literally during the time I grew up. Now the hard part was choosing the right color of brown because if there's one thing I miss about Sims 3 is create a style where we could literally make all this stuff match, and the problem is I couldn't do that. What's interesting is I immediately had to start thinking about what does my mom like the most. So when she made this home, I called it Standard Michigan Bungalow. Basically, what a ton of homes in Michigan are designed like. It's either like a city, like an urban suburban, if you know what I'm saying, or like a bungalow style. But yeah, that's pretty much what screamed to me. But interesting enough, like I said, this is based off the rental home that we were in for the UP, where remember I had a fishing tournament. And speaking of which, if you want to see our view of that, you can go over to a YouTube short where I watched the Frayers go by on my other channel. There should be a link in the description. Regardless, anyway, I really started working hard at making sure this house looked right because I wanted to get it appropriately sized for Sims, and I didn't want it to look ugly. So, funny story about this. So, my first ever thing I did when we went to the UP is this was only my second time going to the UP, and we went to the Mystery Spot. Now, a Mystery Spot is a tourist attraction here in Michigan where basically gravity seems to work differently there. It was very interesting. With my scientific brain, I couldn't really comprehend what the heck was going on. But I remember, I mostly tried to base off what I remember from that house because I remember my mom really, really liked the 2 houses we stayed in for our past vacations because she and Dad want to downsize. They want to make a smaller home. And by the way, Mom and Dad, if you are watching this, there are little hints to life stories both at our current childhood home that you guys are living in, my current childhood home, but also references to other parts that have happened in our lives if you pay close attention. But what's interesting is my mom, she wanted a little small room for the laundry room, 2 bedrooms, and a basically kitchen, dining, living room, which weirdly enough I could have sworn she didn't like before, but I don't know. But yeah, I decided to use some metal bars on the front porch and the metal roof because I feel like that's my mom. And my parents really like the basic window. As you can see, I'm placing right now the high school years window is what I called it. Now, if only they can make a smaller version of that, I would be a happy boy. But they haven't done that yet. So the other thing I noticed is that they wanted a fireplace. Now, a little thing that is different from this house is it does not have a garage. The reason why is because, as you know, in The Sims, we don't have garages. Well, we do in The Sims 3 and Sims 2, but we don't have it in The Sims 4, which makes no sense. I'm still crossing fingers that cars are coming in the future. There's been so many hints at it recently, and I'm... But my mom likes hardwood floors, and so I use that, but I also remember stone patterning that was... in the house, so I wanted to make sure to include that, but you'll see that a little later. I put basic white walls up with some colored walls. Now, a big thing with my mom is she hates when everything, I mean absolutely everything is white. So like, if everything is the same white color, she will physically rip her hair out because she cannot take it. Like, she does not like it. So I started picking out the showers, and I really went for the shower with Parenthood because that felt like the shower my parents would get. Now, the only problem I have is that I really hope they have more swatches of these in the future because I feel like there should be more of that basic white tub, but with different curtains because I would love that so much. But what's interesting is that since my mom and dad are planning on having basically personal bathrooms, I wanted to also personalize the bathrooms to make them fit both my mom and my dad's kind of style. So... obviously, the one bathroom being more feminine for my mom and the one bathroom being more masculine for my dad. And then they wanted the fireplace, so I also made sure to give a little look for that. Sorry if I'm going all over the place. I kind of got to remember everything. So, it was actually my first time visiting the Sulaks when we went up to the UP, and I got to see these huge freighters. My mom had to get checked by security like 3 times in her purse. Sorry, Mom. Because there's a security guy at the front because, you know, the Sulaks is a government facility. So I immediately am freaking out because I'm like, I'm sorry, Mom. And it's funny, I took my keys, my wallet, and my phone out of my pocket and showed it, like, directly in front of the security guard. And so he immediately said, you don't have to do that. I'm like, I just don't want to be mistaken for a terrorist. But it was really cool. I got to see all these freighters come in, and just seeing how the Sulaks work was amazing, knowing that that's in my own state. But it was interesting because we stayed in Brimley, which is basically kind of like that standard, what people think is a stereotypical UP town. But if you just hit a few miles in another direction, you will find the Sulaks, which is like, honestly, a small town that's quite developed, and it's quite beautiful. So, what's funny about this rental house is you'll see some later when I get to finishing the build, you'll see some weird tire tracks with a mosquito spawner on top of it. The mosquitoes are supposed to be bees. The reason why, Mom, Dad, this is one of those references I was talking about, but the reason why is because, so on our vacation, Dad notices that the lawn is really long. Wow, lawn is really long. Say that 10 times fast. I'm already screwing up by just saying it regularly. But basically, we had the lawn and it was all ready. So my dad all of a sudden goes, hey, they have a lawnmower. Let me charge up the battery and mow the lawn. Don't ask. I don't know why he decided to mow the lawn on our vacation. So I see him going by the window, mowing the lawn, and next thing I know, we're just sitting at the couch watching the Game Show Network, and I all of a sudden see Dad come in and he's complaining, and I'm like, what's going on? And so my mom walks over. Turns out my dad literally mowed over a bee's nest. I don't even think it was bees, it possibly wasps. So I see the lawnmower sitting on the front yard, and his shoes were torn off, laid in the ground, and his feet were just oh my gosh, how many things bit him on that? Oh. But yeah, it was pretty bad. Like, it's what we call Callisim luck. So for those of you who don't know, Callisim luck is what we refer to as the best of bad luck. We don't have horrible bad luck. We have bad luck that's not as bad as I say it. So it was just, oh my gosh, I did not think that has happened. And we literally said that's probably why they didn't mow the lawn, because of that exact reason. Oh, by the way, I made sure to include the pet bowls and other things for a pet because we have a dog at home. Her name is Olive. She's a black lab, and I wanted to make sure to include her since she's part of the family as well. So if you see any pet things, that's just for her. But I almost just basically tried to carbon copy this rental home, and it's just making me think of all these funny stories we had. And so the other funny story was, for those of you who don't know, I have severe arachnophobia. I am terrified of spiders. I can't be in the same room with them. And so when we are at this rental cabin, I'm sitting in the living room. They have this like big window area in the living room where you can see on the Lake Superior all the way to Canada, where the freighters come by to go to the Sulaks. And what is scary about it is all of a sudden I noticed that there's a couple of spiders. Now they're like, about yay big, not too big. And they were like, even that made me a little uncomfortable because I'm like, I don't like spiders. So next thing I know, somebody mentions, I think it was mom, maybe, I don't know for sure. Somebody mentioned that there were some big spiders dangling down. And they're like about that big, like legs and all. And I'm freaking out here. Like I'm squeezing my mom's hand. You can hear me deep breathing. Like I literally could not handle it. And I was so worried because I'm like, I don't want to leave a review of this place saying my arachnophobic son did not enjoy the spider-infested house. So I was just terrified. My dad ended up cleaning the windows, but it didn't really help much. But it was just terrifying because I hate spiders. I really hate spiders. Ugh, I don't even like talking about them. Let's change the subject. Oh boy. So what's interesting is that this house is going to obviously be on my grandparents' farm, or at least in that area. And the thing is, obviously I'm going to fence in the backyard, but that's not what's going to happen when they're there. My parents are thinking about a pole barn because my brother and my dad, they fish. That's why we were in the UP. My brother goes to fishing tournaments for our college. And so he ended up getting his boat like a few years ago. And so my dad also has a boat. So he wanted the pole barn to keep their boat in. And I felt like it made sense. So I decided to do that. So for this living room, I pretty much just built a standard living room from what I preferred and also thought about what my parents would like. Now, I did have to stick the tiny saucer light in. Now, you're probably wondering why I picked the blue couch. My parents, you probably know why. But it's just based off a sectional that we actually have, which we got, I think, when I was in 9th grade. I'm not 100% for sure. It's been a while since we updated the living room. And it took a lot of moving around because I wanted to fit the TV in here. And I know my parents, we don't own a flat screen that's hooked up to the wall. So I knew I had to find a TV console to fit somewhere. So I decided to tuck it in the corner and pretty much make everything work out. What was interesting though is figuring out that coffee table because my perfectionism was not exactly dealing with the whole coffee table being weird like that. I wish that it looked a little better than it did, but it still turned out pretty well, I'd say. The nice couches and all that. So something interesting I added is if you look next to the chair, there will be a little knitting basket that's actually supposed to be, because my mom crochets. She actually has I think she has a business. I don't know where to find it, but it's called Krabby Apple Creations. She names it Krabby Apple because, I don't know, it's just something she used to call me and my brother when we were little. I don't know why. We have all these cute things with my family and just, I don't know, I love them. But anyway, that's why that's there, because I know my mom would carry over that and still crochet. Now, would it be in reach of our dog Olive? Probably not, because she's smart, but Olive can be dumb sometimes, but she's still adorable. And what was really hard is figuring out the lights in this area because I wanted to make sure it was lit right. So now we're going on to what is pretty much going to be me and my brother's room if we ever visit. And I just went with what my parents probably would pick. Now, all the furniture in here is like if I had unlimited funds and my parents picked what they probably would go with, and this is no influence. My mom didn't tell me what she wanted the furniture like, so I just kind of flew by the seat of my own pants, which if you know Garrett Callison, he does not like flying by the seat of his own pants. Such a processing disorder does not like flying by the seat of its own pants. Now, what's interesting is you probably saw me add a night light. Yeah, I actually have to sleep with a night light. The reason why is because, to be honest, at night, when it's too dark in my room, it actually reminds me way too much of death, and my anxiety gets way too high, and I get night terrors about that. So I actually have to have a night light in my room so I keep my anxiety down while I sleep. But that's why that's there. And also, I'm just going to mention it here. I also sleep with a security blanket. Now, that's because of my sensory processing disorder. I don't know why. I practically sleep with it. I'm still 19 years old and I still sleep with it because I guess it's just a comforting thing for my sensory. Like I said, I get a lot of anxiety in my sleep. But a lot of things help me out and a lot of basic small things do as well. And my parents, the reason why the bed is like that is because my parents had their bed oriented in my current home that they live at is kind of oriented towards the door, so that's why I had that. I introduced a grill because my dad loves a lot of grilling, and I just decided to put some porch furniture out there because I felt like my parents would probably every once in a while sit outside. Now, like I said, I am fencing in the backyard, but that is only because Well, this is a Sims home, not a farmhouse. So I pretty much just went with what I could for the best. And like I said, this is all new, Chris. But this house is available in the gallery. My username is just garrcall, all lowercase, GARCALL. A lot of my builds are there, and this one's literally just titled My Mom's Blueprint or Floor Plan. I'm not sure, I can't remember. Excuse me. But the landscaping was really hard because I don't know what the heck to do. Landscaping is not one of my strong suits in The Sims, if you probably haven't noticed from my other builds. And if you do think it's good, well, thank you. That makes me feel really good about myself. But regardless, I really had a hard time figuring out the landscaping because, like I said, this is going to be on a farm plot and not like in a suburban neighborhood because my parents, they've had enough of people. If you're wondering what that means, it's just people are starting to get crazy, so they're starting to want to move away from that, which is weird because I'm kind of the oddball in my family. I was kind of the one who would want to live in the suburbs while my parents would want to live in this giant farm area with absolutely nobody where it's silent, and I don't like that. I don't. Looks like we're starting to wrap up on the build here. Like I said, there's those tire tracks with the mosquitoes that influence the idea of my dad getting stung by bees at with the lawnmower. But yeah, I like this house. It's available on my gallery if you want to see it. But thank you guys for watching. This is really fun. Check out the playlist and my other builds. Even check out the current Let's Plays I have going. And feel free to go to my other channel. I hope to see you guys again soon. And this is the last week of summer for me. Bye!